Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to be discussing about textures. Texture is what gives the surface of the material its characteristic look. Let's look at this example. What makes jute look like jute and paper look like paper is the texture. So jute has this kind of like cross-hatched texture and paper has more of a granular feel to it, basically like a dotted texture. In this example, both the materials, aluminium and the paper, both have similar looking granular texture. Still, aluminium looks different compared to a paper, and that is because how it reflects light. Aluminium is a good reflector of light, so it will have harsh highlights. Also, it transitions quickly from these highlights to shadows. Paper, on the other hand, is not a good reflector of light. So there is a smooth transition between the highlights and the shadows. So through these two examples, you can gauge the two components of texture. Texture can also be used in products. So as you can notice here, textures are used to provide grip. In a similar way, textures are also used to provide grips in bicycle handles. If you notice closely, the textures are made through a series of triangles, and this is not the natural texture of the material itself. So how do we start learning textures? The first thing you do is collect specimens of different natural textures like leaves, wood, stone, bricks, skin, etc. and then simply copy them. There are two different ways of making textures using colors. Both the methods have been briefly discussed in the previous video about shading. So the first method is using a dark colored pencil on a lighter colored base. In this case, I have this yellow colored base here and I'm going to be making the texture with a dark brown color. Notice how I draw the lines quite rough to give it that natural look. So the second method is to use a blunt pointed end, something like a ballpoint pen which is not working, to create textures beforehand so that when you use colors on top of it, the impressions that you have made already stand out as the white of the paper. So now let's have a look at this example. You can see the different cloth textures that I have brought out using the second method. I've done this with graphite pencils, but you can do the same even with colored pencils. In this example, the question was about a mural for a heritage building, and you can see how the color brown and the rock-like texture come together and give it a different dimension of interest. Also, textures are very useful in still life. The object that you draw is much more realistic when you include a texture. It conveys what material you are using. Also, it gives a tactile dimension to the drawing. That's it for this video. See you in the next one.